Welcome to Mind Your Mouth. I'm Melissa Mugno, your host, and today we are going to be talking about the joy of discipline. I don't think I ever would have thought that that was coming out of my mouth, talking about discipline and joy in the same sentence. But these last couple months, as I have been continuing to be on my journey and unravel things, this concept about discipline has kept coming up. And it made me realize that I wanted to spend some time coming to you guys and talk this out with you. We have been working so hard to grow and evolve, not just from, from just personal, but even a company, right? So, Inc., which is the consulting firm, we've worked really hard in trying to find out who we are. And, I used to think discipline really was a punishment. And with that, it always felt like I was being restricted or, like somebody was saying no to me. And I realized by not having some discipline, I was actually not allowing myself to grow. And that restriction, almost forced me into a box and made me kind of almost like a victim to my lack of discipline, if that can make sense. But lately, as I've been realizing that the discipline isn't punishment. I need to say that a couple times. Discipline isn't punishment. It's actually permission, which mind boggling to me. And it's permission to like move with clarity, move with peace, to stop living in chaos. Yeah, that's a big one because I lived in chaos most of my life. Actually, it's where I felt the most calm. It's where I would shine. I knew how to function in chaos quite well. It was an area that I could work in. It was well, I knew it. It felt familiar. It didn't feel foreign. And I realized that if I could work more with understanding the power of discipline, that I could actually start creating these amazing acts of self love, and I could actually buy back time. I could find calmness and consistency in discipline, which was something I didn't, it was absolutely foreign. And the more I've been exploring this and talking about this, the more things have been showing itself to me, right? Like I've been having conversations with people and just talking to them a little bit more about who they are, what makes them, you know, themselves, how did they get to where they are in life. The one thing is the people you keep around you, you want to keep great people that are doing really great things and that have achieved things that you want to achieve, right? So that you can put your energy in your space and be around the people you want to act like and be like. And so I started asking a father of my son's good friend who's very successful this question about what makes him different, what got him to where he was today. And he said, I think it might be the fact that I knew early on that if I could just delay instant gratification or delay pleasure slightly, that I could do great things. I didn't have to get it right then and there. I could be slightly disciplined and just delay the gratification a little bit longer. And all of a sudden, I would get everything I wanted or be able to do the things I wanted later on. And I thought, ooh, that's discipline, right? Self discipline right there in, you know, just understanding that you don't need instant gratification, which, let's be honest, is really tricky and is the opposite of everything that's happening right now in the world. Everything is instant. You want Amazon Prime instant. We get annoyed if it takes more than a day or 2 days. I know I do. I'm sure you guys can relate to that. DoorDash, Netflix, Instagram Reels, everything is instant, quick, 10 minutes, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. We don't really want to wait for anything. So we don't have patience. And when you don't have patience, it's hard to find discipline because you're looking for instant gratification and you're trying to dissolve the feeling of being uncomfortable. And with that, you want quick fixes. You want your problems to be solved. And when you have to sit in uncomfortable feelings, it's going to bring up a lot of things that you might not want to deal with. But there is so much power in learning to sit with that uncomfortableness. I have a lot of us interesting relationship with food or shopping. And when I'm uncomfortable or I'm sad or I'm tired or I don't feel good, I want to go eat something sweet. I want to eat something satisfying and I want it right now. I don't want to feel uncomfortable. I don't want to feel the pain in my body or sit with the fact that I wasn't disciplined in my sleep or that I stayed up scrolling too late. All the different things. We can go down millions of aspects of it, but even our bodies, our minds, all these aspects is truly to recognize great things come with, you know, really sitting with yourself. If you would have told me 4 or 5 years ago that the answer to most of my biggest struggles were all inside of me, and the fact that I just wasn't willing to truly sit with it and acknowledge it and live with it and be honest with myself, then I, probably knew it was true, but I probably wasn't open to open to hearing it, and I probably would have reacted a little bit. And that's, not not a great way to be either. So, in today's episode, we're going to dive in to the joy of discipline, not grind or hustle thing. We're going to kind of realize the secrets that allow our body and our mind and our businesses and even the way we breathe are all better when they have boundaries or consistency or they are in a more disciplined mannered way, right? When we have an understanding. One of my favorite books, or really the only book I really ever remember reading, was Lord of the Flies. And you know why I think about that is because I think that book resonated with me because it was chaos. And the truth is, they were struggling. They were trying to find discipline. They were trying to create a world where things made sense, that there was limitations and expectations. And I just think how interesting it was that that book is the book that I remember the most when reading was not something that I was very great at or enjoyed because I struggled so much being able to retain information. But when chaos feels normal or when you have that mindset shift that, oh, I'm just, we'll just do it later or we won't focus on it or I won't just sit and deal with the thing that I've been kind of avoiding, then the truth is you will just self gratify quicker. And instead of delaying a little bit of gratification, you're just delaying success, which will ultimately get you what most of us all want, which is that ability and understanding to claim all the things that we want. We say we want to be successful, we want to be happy, we want peace, we want joy, we want all of these things. But the real question comes down to is how much work are you willing to put in to get it? Now, that doesn't mean you should only work. It's supposed to be in a balance. And, one of the things we've been doing with the company at Inc. is trying to figure out who we are. That's been a big thing for me. Is what's the brand identity? I've struggled with branding and concepts because I realized I still had a lot of work to do with understanding who I was and the discipline in my path of self growth and understanding who I am comes down to me really being able to create the business and the world that I desire so much. And, when we named the podcast Mind Your Mouth, it was like a no brainer. Oh my God, it landed. I know exactly, I was going back with, I knew Melissa the Mouth was something my handle was. But when a good friend of mine, Dr. Neil, said, Mind Your Mouth, it was like, oh my God, that's everything. I use my mouth all the time. I don't stop talking. And I know the connection between the mind, the body, and the soul. And just a couple of days ago, as we've been trying to work through this branding, we really started to realize that there was pillars and segments of the company, and that they were mind your mind, on top of mind your mouth, mind your business, mind your body. These are all the things that I care about, and that are the ways and the things that I try to help people with. So when I think of mind your mind, it comes back to the discipline, and that it's not punishment, that it's clarity and not chaos. But I have to be disciplined in the way I think. I have to think about my mindset. And I knew the mindset stuff was so important. So I can't not talk about it. That's why in the podcast, or even in consulting clients, or even in therapy, there's always a mind your mind component, because we have to pay attention to what you're telling yourself, right? Self trust is everything. And when you show up for yourself and you're able to be kind to yourself and talk to yourself and keep your own promises, you start to build trust within yourself. Trust was something I didn't have because I didn't have a lot of discipline. And therefore, I wasn't always able to follow through the way I wanted to because of my insecurities. And then, therefore, I was never 100% able to truly be able to claim and do the things I wanted to do. So I don't know how much you guys can relate to this, but I wanted to have little segments and things that you guys could do to look at each of these pillars in your own life. So when it comes to mind your mind, I really want to encourage you guys and ask you to use the 3x3 method, and use this method in a way for you to ask yourself, can you commit to 3 things a week? As an example, can you say, I'm going to stay hydrated this week. I'm going to really work on hydration. I'm going to work on journaling, and I'm going to do stretching. Something so that you stay consistent, right? You say that your mind's going to commit to something and then follow through with it. And then ask and notice any small changes. Be realistic to the expectations, and don't make it something that feels unachievable, and celebrate the consistency and see if you notice the wins. That was a big thing for me to recognize, that I would do big things, right? I would start big projects, I would get them started, but I couldn't stay consistent. And it was because I wasn't disciplined in the daily tasks. I would burn out quickly. I would use up all my energy right from the beginning, and then I couldn't stay consistent. But that was something I've been learning about myself. I just thought that was because I wasn't capable of doing it, or maybe there was something wrong with me. And then I would start with self-sabotage and bad talk. Well, how can I mind my mind if I'm saying bad things to myself? Right? The way I speak to myself is really important. It's really important the way you speak to yourself. So, what do you tell yourself about yourself? I know these things can sound simple, but the truth is, if they were simple, we'd all be doing them, and we're not. Then I think about mind your mouth, right? The discipline in health. Well, mind your mouth for me is something I work with that comes pretty easy, because I know the mouth highlights dysfunction. It will actually show you what's going on in the body. So if right now you can hear my throat, my voice is a little hoarse. I've been working a lot. I've been doing a lot. All good, nothing bad. It's all been exciting stuff, but I've been a little unbalanced. And with that, I've been stressed, stressed in the fact that my routine has been a little challenged. And so my mouth sometimes will wear that dysfunction because I held so much trauma in my mouth. So my mouth is sensitive, and I have to be kind to it. I have to make sure that I drink my tea, and I have not been doing a very good job with that, as I'm going to do right now. Throat tea when I'm doing a lot of speaking and I'm doing a lot of creation and I'm talking to a lot of patients. That's what I do for a living, is I talk, and I have to be really kind to my vocal cords. And I have to be careful not to strain them. And I have to be gentle with my voice because sometimes I'll be really hard on my voice instead of keeping my voice high and a little bit lighter. So, you know, myofunctional therapy for me is that it highlights and allows me to recognize. So, I ask you guys for some takeaways is notice how your mouth feels. Notice what it feels like when you're having conversations. Are there words or things that you haven't been able to say, and are you holding them in? Are you clenching? Do you notice that you're getting dry mouthed a lot? Do you notice that your tongue or you're licking your lips a lot? Are you getting canker sores or are you getting, dry lips? This is all your mouth telling you something. It's telling you your body needs something. And you need to listen to those things. You need to take those moments to look at that and kind of focus, give your body what it needs. You don't have to obsess over it, but you need to acknowledge and spend some time with it. That's why myofunctional therapy is so cool and I love it, is because it's therapy for muscles that we take for granted, but yet are so important. The way our tongues move and activate are so crucial. Being able to like elevate your tongue and suction and hold your palate is stability. Being able to move your tongue and swallow without having it to be stressful, or if you notice that you're gagging or having multiple swallowing issues, or you feel tense in the jaw, it's because your muscles are constrictive or you're compensating for something that you taught your body to do a long time ago. Or if you notice your kids are using their mouths in funny ways, I really encourage you to explore and take a look at this because there's so much beauty. The mouth is the window to the body, which then brings me to mind your body. Energy flows in order, right? The body thrives in patterns, it burns in chaos. And with patterns, it needs balance, it needs posture, it needs stability. If you sit in front of a desk all day and you are on your phone or on your computer, like most of us are, you have to do stuff to work your posture. Posturing and getting your shoulders back and your feet flat on the floor is so important to touch the ground and to stretch and move your body. Like being able to do breath work and pull the body, right? And really open up the chest and expand and be able to move and like all those aspects is so crucial to letting the energy and oxygen and blood flow. If your body is feeling stiff or tight, the rest of your body will also hold that. It will affect the way you think, it will affect what you eat, how you eat. I think a lot of us will go to the gym and we'll work out, but we'll work out hard and we don't even realize that half the time we're working out or lifting weights and we're clenching and we're grinding and we're putting a lot of pressure onto our lower jaws. Other times, it's a great place to clear the mind. But if you're not doing a lot of good stretching afterwards, or you're not maybe doing some breath work before, and you're not focusing on the cadence of your breath, if you're like me who speaks nonstop and you speak fast, you have to slow it down, right? You need to slow down the words. You need to draw them out and be a little softer and kinder in the way you even just speak or react, because things are not happening to you, they're happening for you. And even though it may be happening and you don't understand that it's like, well, why would this happen for me? It's not good. It might be trying to show you something. This body of ours is working. It loves us. It's trying to help us and support us. Absolutely. There are times the body is struggling and suffering, but it's because it's struggling, we need to investigate and look at why these things may be occurring. There's investigation to be done. And so the more disciplined you can be in your routines, right? So, what I would love for you to take away from this is, instead of asking, like, why do I feel that way? Ask, what does my body need right now? And try not to have judgment on it. We judge ourselves so hard. We are our worst critics. I say, I think back to how I treated myself and I spoke to myself. And I think, you know what? No one could really be meaner to me than I was to me. I would yell at other people and be angry and reactive, but most of the time I was yelling at myself, not knowing it, realizing that I was inviting this behavior in because it was a mirror for me to recognize that the way they were speaking to me was the way I allowed it, right? Because it's how I felt internally. And I know there's so much out there that talks about this, but I just encourage you and ask you to take some time to look at yourself and in these areas. You know, the next place that I just love the whole saying is mind your business, right? Like, and what does mind your business mean to you? Well, it means a ton of things. And I laugh at it because no one needed to hear that more than me. I was, I am still pretty nosy, but I was always the nosy kid. I always wanted to hear what the adults were saying, always was listening, eavesdropping into conversations. Probably because of fear, thinking everybody was talking about me. Also, maybe a bit of my own narcissism, that I thought everything was about me because of my own insecurities. And I recognize, and I ask yourself, do you recognize any of those things in yourself? Also, what business do you need to mind of your own, right? I think of what does that mean, right? Creating momentum is what ultimately will allow you to find out exactly what you want to do, whether it's your own brand. And whatever your own brand is, everybody has a brand nowadays. You are your own brand. That's what social media has done for us. That's the world of technology. What is your legacy? What does that mean? What are you leaving on this earth? And with that, it's mind your business. What is your business? I don't care what your job is or what you do. If you're a stay at home mom, that's your business. And ultimately, what do you need to create, make it better, feel more supported, get to where you need to be? We all have dreams. We all have inspirations and goals. And what do you need to fill so that you can achieve all of those? Discipline, when I think of that, right? Talk therapy is great in a lot of ways, but more that I've been coaching and developing, I think of, what do you need to do to get to where you need to get? What I needed to do was start this podcast. And mind your mouth is ultimately what's been setting the business apart. It was me minding my business because I needed to create content. I needed people to see the things I was doing and be able to hear me and be able to do it in my own space and recognize it's not perfect. And if it's not for everybody, that's okay. But that's how I look at it. And so when I think to you, what do you need from that? What are your non negotiables, right? What will be the things you're going to do this month, next month, that are going to help you look at these four pillars and see, are you balanced? Where do you need support? And where can we help you? Where can you help you? What do you need? What does your business need? What does your mind need? What does your mouth need? And what does your body need? And if you look at those things, it will either show you where you're not balanced. It will also create balance by kind of taking ownership of that. And I'm so humbled and excited that I have chose me and this path, and that I've opened up and that I've shared, because yes, I hope the things I'm doing are helping all of you, but I can say it is helping me, and me being my authentic self and me being open about the areas and the strengths that I'm doing are making me a better version of me, which will make me a better mother, a better coach, a better myofunctional therapist. I hope a better daughter. It's still an area I'm working through. A better sister, a better human, a better consultant. And I am so excited that me doing these things has given a platform in an area to actually bring in the people that I always wanted around me. Who knew, right? Or maybe everybody knew, and finally I do, was that accepting yourself and loving yourself is the key to getting everything you want. We are all human. We all make mistakes, and there is no such thing as perfection. And to say that one is better than you, or sit judgment on others, or judgment on yourself, does not serve anybody. It sure doesn't serve you. And when I think of the art of discipline, it's, can you find joy in the things that you actually thought were the most painful? And can you navigate through it? Of course, with learning your own boundaries and what you need will allow you to open up and be more vulnerable to new opportunities and new experiences. Most of the time, I didn't do things because I was scared. I was scared of failing, but I already was internally suffering. And I know that a lot of people can relate to that. And I think if you can spend time to reflect and find areas that you can bring or curve or kind of work through, there is so much potential that can be done. Things are not happening to you. They are happening for you, whether they are good or bad. It's not always easy to look at the lesson or understand in the moment why. And it's really challenging, but it's so rewarding if you can work through it to recognize, and I know I'm using that word too much, that there is gifts in the darkness and in the light, in the businesses that have failed, in the relationships that have ended, the things that you yearn for, that you want, and the pain and the suffering, that it's all for this greater good. And I know that's so easy for me to say. And it's crazy that I'm actually saying it. And I know I believe it. And I continue to practice it. It's really, it's shocking to say the least. I think one of the things I've learned with doing my, like going down to Costa Rica and Colombia and doing the work that I've done with the indigenous and using plant medicine was, they have these sayings that what's coming is going. And it's not for, it might not be for everybody. And I recognize that. But I can't believe that all of the pain and suffering was because I had it locked and stored all over my body. And every time I'm living and I'm redoing things, I'm taking on new things and I have to work through it. And that's why I continue to go down and do that work once a year when I feel called. It's not because I need to, it's because I choose to. I don't need any of it. I choose me. I choose to honor my soul and continue to work on becoming and continuing to learn myself and be the best version of myself, because one day this body and this mind and this mouth won't be here anymore. But I believe the soul will live on, and I want to continue to nourish it and love on it and teach it so that it can grow and keep giving. And I think most of us feel the same way. I just think sometimes we need to know we're not alone, and we need tools and we need ways to navigate it. And I think this episode, I hope you are getting some of those things. And I wanted you guys to take some of these tips and things away so you can bring it back into your world or your space. And don't dismiss the small things. I mean, even if you're struggling to make a decision on what car to buy, or what shirt to wear, or you can't figure out what color you like, there's a there's something that needs to be unraveled with that. Can't decide the name of your business. It's because there's a fear there. And if you can get a little uncomfortable sitting with what that fear might be and sit with it for a while and then let it go and release it and just put it to the side and maybe come back to it later, then you might unravel and learn something really powerful that will unlock something bigger so that you can claim exactly what's yours. A lot of these things sound cliche, and I sure as heck didn't invent them or make them up. And I didn't, I'm not the first person to ever say them, but I'm so honored to be able to share it and talk to you about this because it's important. And I think the more we hear it and we see it and we believe it, then maybe we'll be more likely to trust it and give it a chance. I know that if you go back and you look at even if you go look at my Instagram and you look at the photos of me from 2016, 22, 21, you'll see my physical body was struggling. And if you knew me back then, you'll know that I was struggling internally. I always had a good heart. I loved big. I was not a bad person, but I was broken. I was scared. I was really worried about what people thought of me, and I was people pleasing because I didn't have it inside me to love others. And my brand and my company are a true vision and testament of what's possible. And also me recognizing I have really great gifts, and I know you do too. So let's unlock them. Let's find what your area of greatness is and let's blow it out of the water. Let's help you claim the life you want and let's find it in the areas you need a little more discipline. So, as a reminder, I want you guys all to really recognize where you need more structure and maybe where you need a little more discipline and think, mind your mouth, mind your mind, mind your body, and mind your business. Until next time, thanks again for joining me on another episode of Mind Your Mouth.